and good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We are here today to hopefully provide you with some very helpful information that we will cover in part two of our storm prep plan with you. And with that, I am going to go ahead and pass it over to the man behind the plan, Henry.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you all very much for joining us today. We are very excited to be able to provide a little bit of information, hopefully to get you ready for this season and get you as a customer a little bit more integrated in understanding of how we're doing things, how things are working for you, and just a little bit more knowledge so that we get you what we're really about here is giving you peace of mind. So today is part two of our storm prep for 2021. Last time we talked about the importance of having a written plan and how to get it to your team members. Today we're going to talk about one of the significant technical controls around disaster preparedness for hurricane, fire, flood, whatever it is, just great backups. Now, as a customer of Turnkey Solutions, or if you're not a customer, if you're just looking at your backup reports, or you're aware that somebody's doing some backups, or you think somebody's doing a backup, it is really important that you understand those. As a customer of ours, we always encourage you to ask questions. How are my backups? We want you to understand, and we really need you to be involved in that conversation. Maybe not at the point to where you're fixing the backups and doing the stuff that it's clearly our responsibility to do, but we really need that engagement around understanding what's being backed up, what's the plan if we had a disaster, how would we restore, what would that feel like in the event of a restoration or having to use or rely on the backups for this scenario. What about that scenario? So that's what we're here to do today, is to start that conversation, and we're going to actually look at the primary backup system that we're using here at Turnkey Solutions for our managed services clients right now. So without further ado, let me kind of get to start getting through this. Today, what we're going to walk through is two things, and that's it. It's going to be pretty short and sweet. Is one, how to get to your backup reports. And yes, so much more. We have a really cool tool that we have rolled out for 100% of our clients. I'll show that to you in a second. And the next is how to understand them. So we're going to keep this really simple. So with that said, and by the way, if there's questions, you can always email them to ask@tks.la or hang out for just a minute to the end of the presentation, and we'll take your questions online right here. So how to get to your backups is important. Oh, the last thing that we'll talk about is what to do if you've got questions. So we'll cover that as well. So how to get to your backups reports. There's a ton of different ways that most people are kind of aware that they can get to them. A lot of reports we send to your emails, and we understand nowadays that there's a ton of different places where we're sending you emails from. We're sending you a ton of reports from this system or that system or whatever, and it's a little harder to read through that. So what we're working on and we're deploying for our clients is our cloud portal, where we're kind of accumulating every bit of data that we can about the health of your systems in the one place to where you can go log in and get to them. Yes, we should, for most of our clients, we're still sending backup reports via email, but we're kind of deprecating that as the ideal delivery method, because we know they get lost, they get deleted, they get caught by spam filters, and it's a little harder to go find them when you need to. So that's why we're pushing things more to a single portal where you can read about all the systems. So let me kind of give you the walkthrough and how to access that. It is as simple as going to portal.tkscloud.com. If you don't have a username or password that's working, or you've never logged on to that before, email us at support@tks.la or call our main number, and we'll walk through getting you logged into it. So first off, go to there, and what it's going to look like when you get logged in is going to be something along this line. You're going to see the basic idea of all the different sections that are available to you, and there's a university, and there's a lot of different other options that you can go to. What we're going to zone in on and go straight to is the compliance section. So when you go to the compliance section in there, there's a couple different sections, and it's all about how are we complying with the security standards that are important to you. For 100% of our clients, the security standard of having a backup is important. So we are assuming that, and we're putting these reports into there. So if you go to compliance and reports, from there, there's a ton of different reports that we're already populating for most of our clients. And the one that we're going to specifically look at today is the server and workstation backups. So we'll skip to that. So what you click on when you look at the server and workstation backups is you're going to see a ton of reports, all the reports that have been generating. And you'll notice that there's a lot of different types of reports in there. There's typically 2 or 3 reports that you'll see in there. The detail weeklies, there's the status dailies, and sometimes there's a monthly report that you'll see. So it doesn't really matter which one you look at. They're all going to have that information, and it's kind of similar data sets that are specified in each one, maybe just summarized for the week, or summarized for just yesterday, or summarized for the month. Some of them have a little bit more detail. Some of them are specific to the individual, just kind of a company, and just kind of a high-level summary. But they all have specific data points in them, and we're going to dig into that. So the next thing to look at how to get to them is you're going to click on any one of those. And from there, there's an attachment that's in there. You'll scroll to the bottom of that little screen, and you click here, and it's going to pull it up in a browser like that. So it's going to pull up an HTML page. I'll back up, just kind of show you that. And that's it. So that accomplishes the first part of what we wanted to cover today. Is either look in your email or go to our portal. I would really encourage you to look at the portal, because we're putting a way richer data set there for your benefit. And you'll always have all of your backup reports right there. So that's where I would encourage you to go to. Now, let's cover the second thing of how to understand them. And again, if there's any questions, or if you need help getting to the portal or getting logged in, please email just a normal support ticket in, support@turnkeysol.com, or call a main number 225-751-4444, and we'll get you logged into the portal so that you can get to these things and so much more. Now let's cover how to read the reports, and now what I'm going to zone in on it is kind of specifically some terms in there. So I'm going to pull up this actual report, and I've kind of redacted a little bit of information, because this is a live backup report that came through last night, and it's specific for a customer that has 3 servers, and I'll just kind of walk through all the little data points. So how to read this, it's a longer page. I'm just going to take the first little section of it and kind of walk through that. What it's specifically talking about, and I'll turn on my highlighter. Right here is you can see the backup appliance hardware status. So the backup appliance is your on-site box. That's the box that we're sending your backups to. For a lot of clients, it's a very small little kind of a cube looking thing. Some other clients, it's a big rack mount box, depending on the size of how many servers we're trying to back up in your environment. So the appliance is your specific box, and you can see if it's anything green or red. Red usually means there's a problem, green means good. So from there, the protected systems backup status. The protected systems are your computers. Now, they're either workstations or servers, and typically we'll back up all the servers at a customer's environment, and it's usually pretty rare that we'll back up workstations. So the important question that you ought to ask yourself is, if I look at this list of computers here, do I see all the computers that I expect in that list? So please do look at the protected systems backup list to just make sure that you see what you would expect to see. So from there, the appliance name again is referring to the specific box on site, and some customers have multiple appliances, so you can kind of get an idea of which box it's sending those backups to. And the vault name is what's going into the cloud. That's going into our disaster recovery cloud environment, where we've got servers that are ready to spin you up if your building became compromised or you had a site fault like a hurricane or a fire or something like that. So the appliance is the on-site box. The vault is our data center where we're sending it off-site. And from there, you can see when it was last backed up on-site, and you can see when it was last replicated off-site. So this last backup time is on-site. Last replication time is when's the last time it sent it off-site. And you can see if it worked, if it's completed or failed. If it's failed, this will be red. There'll be a number next to failed. If you're having problems, then it'll specifically state that. So a lot of other data in this screen. I kind of wanted to zoom in on something that's very important to everybody. And it's a really important thing, is retention. Specifically in that section, there's a column called about retention. And I wanted to dig in a little bit on this because it's important for you to know that there are options and that we can tune this specifically to any needs that you want. So by server, by the system that we're backing up, we have retention specified for the appliance. Again, that's your on-site box, and the vault, that's the off-site box. So what those specific things mean is, if it says A, that's how many of all backups we're keeping. D is how many dailies. W is how many weeklies, and M is monthlies, and Y is yearlies. So in this environment, in this customer, we are keeping 14 of all the interdaily, if we back up every 2 hours or whatever, and the backup schedule is defined elsewhere. But if we're backing up every 2, 3, 4 hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., then we would be keeping 14 of those on site on the appliance. Dailies, that's the end of day job, the last job of the day, we're keeping 30 days. So I would be able to restore to every day, one backup for every day of the last 30 days in this environment. Weekly, I'm keeping 10 weeklies, so I'd be able to go back 10 weeks. Now, specifically what day the weekly is on depends on, if it's a Sunday or a Saturday or a Tuesday. Those are things we can look at elsewhere, but just for a high level, you'll know that we're keeping about 10 weeks worth of weekly spots. I'm able to go back in this environment 6 months, so I may be able to only have one backup from 6 months ago, but I would have a backup. I may not be able to restore as granularly as like 2 p.m. or versus a 4 p.m. from 6 months ago, but I would at least be able to go back to 6 months ago. And I'm keeping 0 yearlies in this environment on site, and the same settings for this customer are set for the annual. So that's an important note about the retention. And realistically, no customer is the same as other customers. And often one customer will have specific needs for one server and different for the other. So you can set those with us, just put in a support ticket and say, hey, I'd like to talk about changing the retention, maybe on-site versus off-site, and for the backups for maybe this server, or help me understand maybe where our accounting package, what server is it being backed up to, where is it stored, and help me understand that. And now you'll kind of know some of our language and some of what the system is doing. And next time you get that report, you'll know kind of a little bit more what it means in terms of your business environment. So that's kind of a real fast view of retention. Now, next up is what about the usage section in there? Just so you know, the usage section kind of has 3 data points in there, and it helps to understand what you're looking at. The disk usage specifically is how much data is being backed up, period. Like how much data is on that system, that server that's being backed up. So that's disk usage here. The app used is referring to the appliance. So how much storage space is that one server, and all the way on the left-hand side, it's not shown on the screen, but all the way on the left-hand side is that specific server. So how much storage space is it using locally, and how much storage space is it using offsite in the vault? That's what vault used means. So one of the other things that's important to note, and I couldn't find an example this morning pulling it up, but occasionally these can go yellow, and they can actually kick off alerts if there's a high delta, like if there's a tremendous amount of backup that happened yesterday on a specific server. And what that'll typically mean is something was using the disk a lot, something made a lot of changes to the disk. In some environments, not always, but in some environments, that may be indicative of your files being encrypted for a ransomware attack, and it's seeing that all of your files were changed. So that's, one way to interpret that. Other environments will see maybe a customer has a lot of databases in a specific drive or on a specific server, and they just always have a high delta or a high change rate, and maybe that little section is always yellow for a specific server. So that's kind of an idea on what you can look at for usage. Now there's other data when we scroll down on that report that is really kind of helpful for the last typically 30 days. If you scroll down on that report, you'll see how much data was used, period. And you can see the red line means the vault. Again, that's your offsite storage. How much in green was the appliance, and it's actually directly in this customer. It's directly underneath that red line, and how much storage space is used all total is the blue line. So from there, kind of directly below it, it's pretty self-explanatory. How much storage space was used for the protected systems, and how much did we need to back up those, how much space was used on the appliance, and how much space all total was used on the vault. It's pretty self-explanatory report once you understand a little bit of the industry lingo, and once you understand a little bit of maybe how we're using these terms. Again, appliance means the local box, and vault means the offsite box, the data system in our data center. So just so you know, that's kind of the high level about how to interpret your backup reports. Now, kind of last thing that we wanted to talk about today is kind of the high level of some of the most common questions we get. And the first one that is always coming up is, how do I get help? How do I get answers? How do I interpret that? Hopefully this video will help a little bit. And we'll kind of give you a little bit of an idea of understanding that. But the big part that I want you to get is please never hesitate to call. I want you to find those reports. We really want you to get logged in and looking at them and kind of engaged on some level from time to time of digesting the reports and seeing what they look like. And when you have questions, please call us and get help, or email us to put in a support ticket. All of our technicians can help you with understanding these backup reports, and if need be, we can make changes to things like your retention schedule or other things to make the backups better fit specifically your business. Now, another question that we get a lot of times is, hey, is X backed up. That may be, somebody's laptop, or it may be a specific program, or a specific folder. There's a ton of questions that we get around that, and we're going to want to try to drive to, where is this thing? If it's a computer, then we can look directly at this report. Let's go find the computer name, and we can see if it's in this report. If it's a folder, we'll find where is that folder at, on what system is it, or what server is it sitting on, and then we can look at this report. If it's an application, then we'll look at what servers are holding what pieces of that application, and how is that working, and how, then we'll go back to this report and see, be able to see just the hard facts of, is it being backed up? And if you need something changed, like if you say, hey, there's a new thing here and I need this backed up, it's very simple to add. We can take care of that for you. Just put in a ticket, call us, or any one of the 14 or 15 other ways that we have to get a hold of us. So things that we kind of get often asked is this program over here, or this computer, or whatever. How quick does it take to restore is a very common question. It's a little nuanced in terms of the answer. And we got to look at the scenario. Specifically, let's say your entire building is gone, God forbid, we get a hurricane or whatever. All that entails is we got to really think through all the different components of that specific issue. Are we restoring to the data center? Are we trying to restore back to servers that you have spare? Did your insurance company supply you with new computers? So we got to really, oftentimes when people ask us that question and we maybe don't answer perfectly directly as the first answer, we don't want you to think we're avoiding the question, and we just got to fill in a few more parameters there and understand it a little better. How quick does it take to restore a file? Typically, really quick. In terms of technically how it can be done. Once we know what file we're trying to restore, and we know to what point you want to restore it, typically it can be done in minutes. If we're restoring an entire server, then we often have to think through, okay, this server is, it's got a tiny little bit of storage space, maybe 200 gigs, or maybe it had 4 or 5 terabytes. And so sometimes the restoration can be slowed just because we're restoring a lot of data and we're just waiting for the disks to copy data from the backup to the server that we're restoring stuff from. So there's a lot of variables that can make that the answer to that kind of nuanced and a little harder to answer super directly without testing it. So that's the next point is the underlying question that I think most of the time people are asking is how long is it going to take to get us up and running if they have an issue, if we have this scenario or that scenario. And the simplest way I can recommend that we look at this is, let's look at a test. Let's think through at least looking at your disaster recovery plan and see what kind of precautions and preparations you've made for it. Do we have spare computers? Do we have the emergency contact numbers all put together? And who's going to test to get up and running after a hurricane? Who are we trying to get working? What applications do they need to be able to get to? Those applications, what servers do they need to be able to run? So there's just a lot of variables around that. And what I would wholeheartedly encourage you to do is to please call us and let's think through that question from a little bigger perspective of let's think through the scenario and the applications and the people that are all involved in the scenario. And we can storyboard this out for you and think through, based on your backups right now, here's how long it would take to get them up and running. So, and here's when the last time that was tested. So we can look through all that with you and help you get a little bit more peace of mind about that. underlying question. So I hope this was really helpful. I hope this was maybe food for thought about a few things. I really, really, really hope that you will go and try to log into portal.tkscloud.com. And if you don't have a username and password for it, email us, put in a ticket, or call us directly, and we'll get you logged in if you're a current customer, so that you can start getting your reports and start seeing where the backups are and how they're doing, and have that question about it. More than anything, we feel like if we can prepare you for the scenarios and get you educated for it, then you're going to have the chance of having real peace of mind when the Weather Channel says there's a hurricane in the Gulf, or maybe you hear some bad news about what's going on in some part of the world or your business or whatever. We want you to know that we've got you, and we want you to know that we look forward to partnering with you and helping you prepare to thrive through whatever comes your way. With that said, upcoming conversations that we're going to be having, we're going to be bringing on some of our team to talk about a few kind of commonly asked questions that we're getting. For one is, how do we use Microsoft Teams? It's a little bit of a newer application for a lot of our customers, and we are living inside this program. It is a core thing for us at Turnkey Solutions. It has really helped with communications, certainly through the pandemic, and definitely even now that we're all back to the office. It's still become kind of the core go-to application that we do almost all of our communication with. How do we use Microsoft OneDrive? It is an amazing tool. I used to not say that, but the product has evolved to a point to where it is really an important tool for customers. Almost all of you have access to some level of licensing for OneDrive, and it's a really important tool to understand, because it can help you in a ton of scenarios, not only from productivity, but also from getting out of ransomware issues, or just restoring a file that you accidentally deleted all by yourself. So we'll go through some of those things. Another subject that we're kind of going to be coming back to and discussing is, how are we solving this just incredible insanity about passwords here at Turnkey Solutions? There are probably about 500 or 600 passwords on average that I think I have to remember. And that's just a hard fact, that I'm looking at the number of unique passwords that we have to systems. And in my own inventory, I've got about 500 or 600 of them. I don't have to remember but 3. And they are secured. They are all wildly different. They're very complex. And I'm going to show you how you can do the same thing with yourself and help educate your team around how to make it very simple and secure to keep their passwords in the state that they need them to be. So that's it for today's conversation. If there's stuff that you would love to see covered in future conversations, please let us know. Email ask@tks.la. That'll get to us, and we will we'll put it on the list, and we'll get a good conversation around it, and look to be useful and helpful to you that way. So if there's anything else that we can do to help you, please let us know. Turnkey Solutions is honored and blessed to be a part of your team. We want to make sure that we drive value in every interaction, that we're always a benefit and a blessing to your team. So if there's anything that we can do to help with that, please let us know. Email ask@tks.la for questions, resources, or anything that we may have talked about today. Call us at 225-751-4444, or check us out on the web at www.tks.la, and all the social media stuff. So that said, that's all that we have for today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Again, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your business. Y'all have a great day.